The countdown to kickoff is on. The Crimson Tide departed for Knoxville on Friday afternoon, arrived in the Tennessee City a short time thereafter, and kickoff is now just 10 hours away. It's the fourth Saturday in October this year, but it's still Alabama versus Tennessee, and it doesn't get much better than that. We'll break it all down for you right now. Next on Crimson Tide Kickoff. Coaching connections collide tonight in Knoxville. Will the teacher school the student, or will the mentor become the mentee? Offensive struggles have plagued Alabama the last 2 weeks. Will the Tide find its offensive groove?
I think you have to stay aggressive, in what you're doing.
And what has to happen for Bama to get back into the national championship picture? We posed that question to BCS expert Brad Edwards. Let's get this thing started right.
It's hard to say giddy up, whoa, and the horse really know what to do.
We're always sending a clear message. It's Crimson Tide Kickoff, and it starts right now.
Live from the campus of the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Kickoff with Gary Harris and John Huddleston. Brought to you by AT&T and by Alpha Insurance.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Gary Harris alongside John Huddleston, and this is Crimson Tide Kickoff presented by AT&T, Rethink Possible, and also Alpha Insurance. AT&T, of course, is the official wireless communications provider for the Crimson Tide. And, John, we're off and running, and another jam-packed hour.
Week number 8 for the big show. Yeah, big show today, Gary. We've got a lot coming up today. Great lineup of guests this morning. As we mentioned in the open, we've got ESPN's Brad Edwards. He'll join us, talk about all this BCS mess, which is kind of what the BCS is, a mess. Plus, we'll have the voice of the Vols, Bob Kessling, will join us live from Knoxville and give us the Tennessee take on the game. Also, Tider Insider TV's Rodney Orr is making a special appearance this morning. When it comes to the history of the Crimson Tide, Rodney knows about it as well as anyone. He'll talk about some of the more historic matchups of this series. But first, we begin by setting the stage for the third Saturday in October, played this year on the fourth Saturday.
Yeah, I still like it better on the third. It's just where it's supposed
to
be. But you know what? Regardless, third, fourth, fifth, Alabama's offense on a mission to improve and play better. The last two games, really going back to the second half of the Florida game, but against South Carolina and Ole Miss, the Tide offense struggled to put points on the scoreboard and move the ball up and down the field. And after all, that's what offense is all about. So what have opposing defenses done to shut down the Tide?
Well, I'm not sure that it's always about what they did. When we watch the film most of the time, it's a lot about what we did, and in some cases what we didn't do. I think you have to stay aggressive, in what you're doing. When things, maybe don't go well, you get a little defensive in how you attack, and that's not a good way to be. It's hard to say giddy up, whoa, and the horse really know what to do. Sending a mixed message there. So, we want to be aggressive, we want to be attacking, and, we have to do those things.
Well, giving up sacks has certainly been an issue for the Crimson Tide as of late. In Alabama's first 5 games, they gave up a total of 10. But the last 2 weeks, Greg McElroy has been brought down behind the line of scrimmage a total of 11 times. So is it the offensive line, or is McElroy just holding on to the ball too long?
Well, I think it's really hard to say anything to Greg until you really have set back in the SEC pocket. With big 350-pounders running at you and trying to diagnose the defense while shifting around. So I think he definitely has a harder job than a lot of people realize.
Quarterbacks are always going to get a lot of blame. That's part of the nature, and I understand that as a quarterback at Alabama, you're going to be the target of a lot of criticism, and that's fine. That's the nature of the position. That's the nature of playing football here.
On many occasions, it's always the quarterback's fault. But quarterback is a hard position to play when the people around you aren't doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
And you know what they say, you've heard it a million times, the key to a successful passing game is to get the running game going, but that has been an issue as well. Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram have been held in check the last couple of games. They've combined for 169 rushing yards. That's just not going to get it if you're Alabama. So improvement is the key word all the way around for this Crimson Tide offense.
And even with the recent offensive woes that the Tide has experienced, the odds makers still like Alabama to win and to win big tonight in Tennessee. The reason why, the Vols are only 2-4 on the season and still have not won an SEC game. But we say it this time every year. This is a game where rankings don't matter, records don't matter. Tennessee coach Derek Dooley says what will matter is who plays the most physical brand of football.
I guess you can overthink it and out-scheme them, but ultimately the teams that has given Bama problems are the teams that come out and compete and go toe-to-toe. And they hit them and they go 4 quarters and they keep putting the pressure on.
Well, it's been an uphill climb for Dooley in his first year on Rocky Top. Been some disappointments and close calls. Tennessee had then 7th-ranked Oregon on the ropes for a while down, had the Ducks down 13-3 right before halftime, but then they gave up 45 unanswered. The Ducks went on to roll. They thought they would roll over UAB. Tennessee did. Think again. They had to go to double overtime to get that one into the win column. And against LSU, well, you remember this. It looked like Tennessee had it won as time expired, but 13 men on the field. You can't do that. LSU got an untimed down and punched it in for the touchdown and the victory.
And when you talk about Alabama and Tennessee, you talk about a rivalry that's filled with history and tradition, Gary.
That's right, John, but with UT being down the last couple of years, it's fair to wonder if some of the shine has worn off.
So has the rivalry lost its edge a little bit?
Has it lost its edge? You see a game last year? No, I don't think so.
That was Alabama linebacker Alex Watkins talking about last year's game, which has come to be known as Rocky Block. Any true Tide fan can probably tell you where they were when Terrence Cody reached up and blocked what would have been the game-winning field goal. Bama running back Trent Richardson remembers where he was, and he remembers he was scared.
Oh yeah, I was on the sideline and Cody blocked the last one. He came over running to me, and I actually started running from him after he came towards me. Because he was all happy and stuff, and I didn't want him to fall on me or nothing. But yeah, Cody's a good dude though.
Well, that's a great memory, no doubt, but I can assure you that Alabama players, coaches, and fans hoping that it doesn't come down to a blocked field goal tonight in Knoxville.
Can you blame Trent Richardson, though?
No, I mean,
I'd get away. If you see big number 62 coming towards you, you're getting out of the way.
He's one of those guys, the opposition and his own teammates try to get away from
exactly.
Cody. Hey, you know what? It's a glorious morning here in Tuscaloosa. I mean, beautiful. Late October, it feels like what? Late April?
Yeah, beautiful out here
like
this morning.
Springtime morning. I don't know what it's going to be like in Knoxville tonight, but if it's anything like this, it's going to be a great evening for college football weather. Here, there, everywhere. Richard Scott's got us covered. Here's the first look at the weather.
Hey, John and Gary. Not bad weather-wise here locally in town. It's quiet on UA campus, and hey, lots of sunshine today. But let's talk about your forecast for the rest of the day. Their quick cast, 65 degrees by 10 o'clock this morning, already up to 75 by noon. It's not going to feel like October weather at all. Going to feel more like summertime this afternoon, 82 degrees for a high. Of course, we'll talk about much more in your forecast, including take you to Knoxville and show you the kickoff forecast a little bit later on the show. Back to you guys.
All right, Richard, thank you very much. You know, Richard's kind of displaying what Nick Saban calls mental toughness, playing through the pain this morning.
I was just thinking, we're talking about this glorious weather, and he sounds like it's January.
Poor Richard's under the weather, but he's playing through it, folks. Hey, we've got a lot more coming up on Crimson Tide Kickoff. A revealing conversation with the First Lady of Alabama football, Terry Saban. That's on the way.
That's right, but up next, we go to Knoxville to talk with the voice of the Vols, Bob Kessling. How are Tennessee fans reacting to the game? Do they think they've got a chance against the Tide? Kessling will have those answers and much more.
And the two head coaches in this game are well acquainted with each other. Derek Dooley and his old boss, Nick Saban, talk about their relationship and coaching against each other. Thanks for starting your football Saturday with us. You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by AT&T and Alpha Insurance.